Now we got it.
Are we back on? Do we have live audio out there
we
now?
have live audio.
Mike?
Quick, Mike. We got pre-show to finish up here.
Come on, Mike. Let us know.
Give us some good news.
Are we doing better? Got it. Yay,
Yay.
yay. Woo-hoo!
Damn
This is
you,
what
bud.
happens when you put a whole bunch of mechanics in a room.
With two computers. But anyway, like you were saying, I mean, we missed that whole thing, but basically, I don't know, can you sum that up in 30 seconds?
Yeah, so basically what I was talking about is that I started deep diving into control arm setup and suspension geometry and how all the control arms are in relation to the ground and everything.
Right.
And real quick, just the ideal number you want to sit between is, somewhere 0 to 10 degrees
Right.
of angle between the lower control arm, your front lower control arm, and the ground. So the buggy basically sits at 2 degrees,
Right.
which is, your ideal setup is 7. If you can get to that,
Right.
it's great.
Right.
And just how it loads out on the trail and
Right.
going up to ledges and
Yep,
everything
yep,
like that.
yep.
So,
Well, so you're set, really.
yeah.
What's next? Roll center, right?
Roll center, anti-squat, trying to figure out all those numbers.
So, like the roll center thing that I understand is the lower you can get that upper track bar, the frame mount track bar, the better off you are.
Yeah.
'Cause it changes the center of gravity of the vehicle.
So there's that, and then also basically the end goal of this whole situation is, starting to figure out how to reverse engineer this buggy and maybe get some plans together
Yeah,
to
that
build
would,
a 2.0.
that would be cool. Oh, yeah, good deal. So again, and you guys didn't hear it, I apologize for our technical difficulties on Sunday night. We had a software issue. We were missing a patch, but we dry ran everything and we were good.
I think we got it a little bit better now,
yeah,
hopefully.
But great show for tonight. We've got Ron from Ridgeback Guide Services. Ridgeback Guide Service on. He's going to talk to us about all things overlanding,
Can't wait.
and he's going to take us to school. So there is very few people that are as knowledgeable as he is.
I sure as I'm not.
Not at all. All right, let's see if we can get Ron on here before we start.
There we go.
Yeah. Hey, Ron.
Hey, Don, how are you?
I'm doing good. Let's just make sure. Yep, we got audio from you. We're good.
Awesome.
Nice.
All right, guys, should we kick the show off? Hit the button. I actually hit the button like 20 minutes ago.
Hit the other button.
Hit the other button. Should we hit the other button?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, here we go. All right, guys, and we're back. So, I got the keys to drive tonight. Again. After I crashed and burned terribly.
Well, you know
Sunday
what?
night.
We may have spun some tire,
We did.
but
We did.
we're putting power to the ground now,
Yeah.
and we got audio.
Video. We have our guest on.
This
Look,
is
look.
that's Don knocking
On
wood.
Right, right. So I guess, should we clue everybody on where our fearless leader is?
Yeah. Well, if you haven't been following us out on the Facebooks and the YouTubes and everything
Which is like
else,
near impossible because he's put a video up like every 13 seconds.
yeah, I know. Or
He's-
shared something from another
Yeah,
company
he's
being out at the big old SEMAs,
How about it?
Las Vegas, Nevada.
I know. Yeah, he's been out there. He did a trail cleanup already, I think.
Yeah.
And he did. There was some wheeling. He was out while they were doing a trail cleanup, and
First off, he
He's-
drove out there.
Oh yeah, well that was his.
His trail to SEMA with Matty Conkle.
Yeah, and he documented everything. Like they got their very own website.
I know.
It's crazy.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So and they had some wasn't smooth sailing on the way out
No,
either. They had some vehicle problems and
Yeah,
got
they
it
had a
straightened out.
valve stem issue.
Yeah.
We actually plugged one of the tires right before it left. So there was all kinds of things that were,
Nice. Took the spare off, hit it in the back room.
Yep, exactly.
So yeah, he's living the life right now. He's I mean, for anyone who has never been to SEMA, the crowds are tough, and I'm not a huge Vegas person, but the show itself, like you come rolling in on the monorail, and your jaw hits the floor.
Yeah.
Right out in the front, and I'm a motorhead, so
Mhm.
it is what it is. Right out in the front is the Hoonigan Burn Yard, and
Oh
they're
my
just roasting
gosh.
tires. I mean, it's like the sound, the to see them doing that, and then right next to it, Ford has their setup where they're jumping Raptors and drifting Mustangs. And
So
then-
Ford isn't there this year.
Aren't they?
No, actually, Ford is not there this year, but they still have the Hoonigan Burn Yard, and it's being put on by Optimum Batteries.
Wow. I wonder if Continental, because Continental had a whole drift thing, like a drift experience you could do. They were doing it on BMW M5s, I think. And you would jump in a car with the driver, and they would take
Yeah.
you around drifting.
I'm not sure what they have out this year, but I definitely know we'll be talking to Terry. I think this coming Sunday.
Sunday we are, right? Yeah. I'm stoked
Yeah.
to hear what he's got to say. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
unless we have technical difficulties again.
I don't know.
We'll have to
Hopefully
see.
not.
Right.
Also on Sunday, we're going to be having Mike from Apex Off-Road, and he's going to be talking about the Wheel to Heel event coming up next weekend. So we're pretty excited for that as well.
I can't wait for that. I really can't. So I'm stoked. What now? Explain wheel to heel though. What is? I know we talked about this before, but
So Wheel to Heel is an off-road event out at AOAA that is designed to raise money for Mission 22, and the suicide awareness for.
Right.
I'm fairly positive it's Mission 22, but that's why we're going to talk to Mike. So he's going to tell us all about the event and
Right.
all the great causes.
AOA is a new. This is a new.
No, they
venue
were
for
there
them.
last
Oh,
year.
was it?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
So
Well, it'll be a good one. You're going to be running Tail Gunner.
yep, for the Black Red group, and we're going to be getting a whole bunch of content out on the trails.
And I'm going to be there to egg you on to make sure we get all the content we need.
exactly, and you're going to be holding the camera.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right. Well, anyway, guys, we've made you wait long enough, so let's get Ron on from Ridgeback Guide Service, and I'm going to do my best at this.
Well, Ron, welcome to the Jeep Life podcast, and we've been trying to get you on for a little bit of time here. So let's start off with kind of a little bit of your background and what got you into overlanding in general.
Well, thanks for having me on, guys. I do appreciate it. Yeah, we've been trying to get on for a little bit here, but with my schedule out guiding and running trips, it's been a little bit tight. But I'm happy to be here. And I got into overlanding because I like to camp with my off-roading. And in the Northeast, the trails that we have, you're going through town to town to town. It's not like going to Roush Creek or AOA where you're in the park for the day and then you come out and you're in the exact same spot.
Right.
So I can literally travel in the Northeast, 50, 60, 70, 80 miles a day on and off in back roads and stuff, and then find some place to camp out. So I really do enjoy that, and that's how I started getting into it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was I wanted to open up, and I'm struggling a little bit to get you up in here, but we'll get there, Ron. But it's funny because years ago I was into overlanding. Yeah, I gotta switch that. Years ago I was into over. All right, there we go.
All right, we're back.
So yeah, we lost. We didn't have access. We couldn't use some of these roads, and again, we were alone. So ultimately, that was nice. That it would be nice that we had accurate plans. What I mean, what sets you apart from like these? I know there's a lot of people out there offering guide services. What sets you apart from those Weekend Warrior guide services?
I'm not sure what they do for their trips, but what sets me apart is experience. I've been doing this for a long time. Like I said, I've developed a network with property owners, town managers, things like that, that allows me to get to some places that people don't know about. I do this full time also. In my time, my brand, and showing people what great places there are in New England.
Right.
Like all the little country stores I know about. I know who has the best maple creamies.
Nice.
That's one of our favorite things. I actually had a mutiny on one of my rides recently where one of my good customers realized we were about a mile and a half away from one of the best creamy stops, and he started calling out on the radio until everybody was screaming ice cream on the radio. So we went to
Yeah.
ice cream
Yeah.
at 11:15 in the morning.
Nice. Nice. And that I'm sure I'm going to just take a stab at that, but that was Yoshi, I'm sure.
It absolutely was.
Yep.
It absolutely was.
Oh, he's been known for enjoying Vermont ice cream and great guy. I got to meet him up at Mid Atlantic Overland Festival. Crazy intelligent and just really well versed. But yeah, I mean there are so many cool things, and that's I think that's what people don't understand is that the Northeast has so many cool little hidden gems. And you're native, right? Like you've been there your whole life.
I have been here my whole life. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, building those relationships was second nature for you. It's funny because if I go up there, I'm a flatlander. Nobody wants to talk to me.
Yeah.
It took me like 3 or 4 years of going up there continuously till somebody actually had started to address me and to even find out about places that are on maps. But yeah, that's cool.
So I kind of want to bring it back a little bit here, and so you said you got into overlanding because you just enjoyed camping while you went off-roading and kind of the nature of all the trails that you live close to. But so I want to take it more towards how did you get into the guide services and that style of more of leading the group versus just kind of trying to find these weekend warrior style venues.
So I used to do a lot of organized trips for friends and for clubs that I was in. And I really had a good experience in doing that. And there was a guide service previous before me that offered day trips. And when he stopped doing that, everybody was coming to me, Ron, you got to start doing day trips. You know all the trails, you know the great places to go. You need to start doing this. And after about 2 years of hearing that, and hearing my wife tell me that I needed to have a new occupation because she was tired of me doing construction work and coming home super tired because it's really tough on your body and things like that, I decided it was time for a career change and started Ridgeback Guide Service.
Yeah, you can't beat what you're doing now. What backtracking again to some of the Class 4 roads up there. I mean, what kind of wheeling are we talking about, comparatively speaking, to here? Green trails, black trails. I mean, what are your options when you're out in these Class 4 roads?
From absolutely mild to wild. We have green trails that are, stock friendly for stock Wrangler, stock Tacoma,
right,
stock 4Runner. Or we have black trails that are filled with boulders the size of washing machines and big pieces of ledge and things like that.
Yeah, nice. You just did a black guided ride, right?
We did 2 in August. We did one in New Hampshire for Mainline Overland, which we do guided rides out of their New Hampshire store for them. They take rides from April to December, and they're green to blacks.
Okay.
And those are in both New Hampshire and Vermont. I also did a Western Mass Metal Mash, Black Ride this year, which
Right.
was trails in northern Berkshire County in Massachusetts.
Nice. Yeah, I saw pictures of those on Facebook. I mean, you're right. There's some pretty wild stuff up there for sure. Um, Now, I mean, you're out with everybody. When you're out, I mean, what are you doing with everybody? I'm sure you're educating them while they're out, what do you offer when they're out in that trail?
So when we do our trail rides, we obviously offer spotting and guiding through any obstacle that anybody's uncomfortable with. We also, as they go through those obstacles and things like that, I always give pointers, show people how to pick lines, things like that. At the driver's meeting, I usually pick the least experienced driver and put them directly behind me or a couple trucks behind me,
Right.
or sometimes even behind a veteran client that I have that knows how to drive,
Right.
so that they can see somebody else picking a line as we're going up through as a group through the
Yeah.
trails to help them start figuring out how to get that to happen and become second nature for them.
Right. Right. And like breakdowns, things like that. I'm sure you're equipped. Obviously, not with parts that they're going to need for their vehicle, but equipped with knowledge as well as how to help people get their rigs back off the trail if they break.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had some great trail fixes. As a Land Rover owner, I've learned how to get trucks off trail. I've been in a lot of competitions and just overland events and trips with
Right.
Land Rover guys.
Right.
And it's pretty wild because we'll run as a pack because somebody has a bolt, somebody has the knowledge, somebody has something,
Right.
whether it's your truck or not, which
Yeah.
many times we've sold parts off other trucks that are not as important
Right.
to fix different trucks.
Right. Right.
So owning a Land Rover has really gotten me into the mindset of what can we do to make this safe to get it off the trail.
And you're absolutely right. I mean, trail fixes that's a whole game changer. It's not like fixing a car in my shop. It's a whole different animal. So that in itself, I mean, you only learn that from time and experience. Yeah, but yeah, absolutely.
So speaking of experience, Ron, how long have you actually had, I guess, Ridgeback Guide Services, and how long have they been around?
I started a Ridgeback Guide Service and started doing professional trips in 2017. So we've been doing it for 5 years. We just had our 5-year anniversary this past June.
Wow.
Wow. And then also you
Yep.
were saying that you have veteran customers. So is it common to have customers coming back time and time again for, just increasing their ability, or just because they, kind of you're one of the best services obviously out there?
Well, we do have a lot of repeat clients. Depending on the ride, some of my funner rides, my veteran clients have been there before, really enjoy those rides, and they get in on those early. But we usually have a mix of about 50-50, which is great because we have new people and veteran type clients that have been out.
Mm-hmm.
I think our veteran type clients keep coming back because we offer such a fun time and a great product that nobody has to worry about. When you go out with me, you don't have to worry about property owners. You don't have to worry about how long the route's going to take. You don't have to worry about where the best stop is for to kick back and have some lunch. I know where all the cool little historic bridges are that we need to stop at. All the places that I pause at. Hey, look off to your right. There's a beautiful view, just across the field. I think that's why people keep coming back.
Yeah, I know. Just from talking with you and some of your veteran clients, I know and I think the big point to Ridgeback Guide Service is the amount of comfortability there is there. You're not worried about getting lost, running out of fuel, breaking down, missing something, and that's I think, in my opinion, that's where the big difference is between you and everybody else. I think that's what really we I think in the Jeep world we use the term guide a little too loosely.
Yes.
We really truly do. There's so much more that goes to it than just knowing, a park or something like that. I mean, there's a lot of facets to understand. I mean, Ron, is there do you have any certifications that set you apart from other other weekend warriors or services that are out there?
Well, we're first aid certified to start with.
Right.
I also am a registered Maine guide, which Maine is one of the very first states to register any type of guide. So if you want to do any work there whatsoever, they have, I think it's 5 or 6 different guide licenses you can get. I have a recreational guide license so that we can run overland trips in the state of Maine.
Okay.
I wish the state of Vermont or the state of New Hampshire had also the same licenses, but they don't.
Right.
Or I would have them. And other certifications that I've done is I've taken a lot of classes with Kyle Boucher from Off-Road Consulting.
Yep.
I've been doing training with him on and off for years as far as recovery and keeping up on that.
Right. No, I think that's what I really truly think that's what sets you apart. I mean, the fact that you have businesses like Mid Atlantic Overland Festival coming to you to run a guided tour for them. The fact that you set up their off-road course at their festival. I mean, that's a big business with a broad customer base. So I mean that in itself just says it all. But then to have the certification to be an actual guide in Maine, and have some of the other stuff and again, anybody out there, you can't go wrong with hitting Kyle Buchter up from Off-Road Consulting. In fact, he's on our short list that we want to do a day. The Jeep Life podcast wants to do a day with him where we kind of do some mixed training. But I think that stuff's just paramount to what you're doing. Now, what are some of the other things that you've had going on this year? I know you did some stuff with Tread Lightly too, as well. Correct?
Yes, I'm actually an ambassador for Tread Lightly for the Northeast. They came to me and asked me if I would give them a hand on spending some money in the Northeast, getting some projects done. They came to me and I said, "Hey, we're here. You're the guy with the eyes on the ground in the Northeast to see a lot of this stuff and to be able to be a liaison for some of the property managers of that." And we've done quite a few projects in the Northeast since they reached out to me last year.
So the Dodders Bridge was one of them. That's correct, right? It was called Dodders Road.
Which
the
which
one
one is that?
the one that you rebuilt the bridge on.
Oh, that's in southern Vermont.
Southern Vermont.
I don't want to give out the name of the trail that it's on.
Oh, okay. But yeah,
to be honest, the town asked us not to geotag it or let people know where it is. It gets enough traffic as it is.
Oh, I'm sure.
Gotcha.
I'm sure. So the job that's in southern Vermont that you had, you rebuilt an entire bridge that was really not safe for travel.
It was not safe for travel. It was barely safe enough for mountain bikers to go over if they knew where the big hole was.
Right.
There was just enough room on one side for them to get over. So we stripped that down and rebuilt that with Tread Lightly, and the Bronco Wild Fund paid for all the materials. We were able to do that with some partners in the Northeast, like Mainline Overland came. We had Go Fox Adventures there.
Yep.
We had DCS Lighting. We had New England Overland Expeditions there. Everybody pitched in to get the job done.
Yeah, and I know you did a huge job in New Hampshire as well, in the Green Mountain.
Yep, for the Tread Lightly and Quadratech 50 for 50.
Right.
We did a weekend up there and did 2 different days, one for the White Mountain National Forest in New Hampshire and another spot in their Maine.
And then going back to, you partnered with Land Rover for some stuff as well.
Land Rover reached out to Tread Lightly for their Trek competition to do a Tread Lightly project. They were doing their competition literally outside my back door in Manchester, Vermont.
Right.
And said they wanted to do a project if we knew anything close by. And of course, Tread Lightly reached out to me and said, "Ron, do we have a project?" And I said, "Oh, we absolutely have a project." Yeah. We had a big project, and we had the Land Rover Trek teams came out. We had about 45 guys working all day long, picking up trash.
Wow.
I had a team with me going around marking campsites in the National Forest. Get a lot of work done in a little bit of time. Those guys are very enthusiastic. I'm hoping that Tread Lightly and Land Rover have a good relationship to come.
Yeah, I mean, I would say so. You guys removed 3,500 pounds worth of trash.
Yes.
You know, so and it was funny because I actually ran into one of the Land Rovers at our local Rudders that week.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I mean you can't miss the thing.
Right.
It was orange with
Yeah.
black lettering on it, and you
Yeah.
know it's just wild.
They definitely set apart.
Yeah, yeah. So, and I remember I was going to grab a picture of it, and I couldn't. I was on the way out, and it was dark. But I reached out to Scott Ammerman from Go Fox Adventures the next day and see if he knew anything that was going on. And here
Yeah.
it was the same trail cleanup or same project that you were working on as well.
So I kind of want to bring it back to Ridgeback Guide Services and kind of some of the things that you guys offer to your clients when you do one of these trips, or what does it really look like? So, you know, obviously I want to sign up for a trip. How does that go about, and, you know, what's the steps I need to take?
Well, we're coming out with our 2023 event calendar in the beginning of January.
Right.
We're down to our last couple of rides right now for this year because everything in the Northeast shuts down in December for snowmobile season. So if you could do like a multi-day trip, like we did a theme trip this year called the Craft Beer Run, which is 4 days in Vermont. We drive trails every day. During the day for either lunch or afternoon stop, we stop at a micro or nano brewery.
Okay, you're talking my language.
How about it?
To see some of their great, craft creations.
Right.
And do a quick sampling. We don't condone any drinking, but during the day on trails. But guys pick up stuff to enjoy around the campfire at night.
Gotcha.
Nice.
And like a trip like that, so you get all the campsites, all the trail routes. Obviously, we're playing a game of follow the leader.
Right.
We're taking you to all these great, beautiful places. You don't have to worry about anything with timing, this, that, and the other. We do not provide meals just because the logistics of meals and people's dietary needs are so diverse that we kind of stay away from that and let everybody pick what they want to, make their own food at camp. Obviously, people like to do their camp cooking, get their scuttle out and fire it up.
Yep.
To make some good stuff. And we always have great provision stops every day at a beautiful country store or a farmer's type market where you can pick up local ingredients, which we always encourage.
Right. It sounds like a good time. What was now you did a Maine trip where you checked out the B-52 and there was up by Moose Lake and some other things. That was a multi-day trip too, wasn't it?
Yes, is a multi-day trip. That is called Planes, Trains, and Overland Adventure. That's a great trip because it's not really hard off-roading. We actually don't even go into four-wheel drive. It's all forest road driving, dusty roads, but it's about being remote. It's about being out in the wilderness where there's a good chance to see quite a bit of wildlife, but we don't guarantee wildlife sightings. And we camp on water every single night. I mean, it's just absolutely beautiful.
Right.
And we do some historic stops at like the Katahdin Iron Works, B-52 Memorial Site. We go out to the Ghost Trains and do a little short day hike out to the Ghost Trains to see them. And then our last stop is at Piston Farms, which is a farm that's 22 miles from pavement out in the middle of nowhere, completely off grid. It's a great lodge run by a great couple. It's in the middle of nowhere. We camp there. They have food and usually take care of us on our last day before we head back into civilization. So that's always nice.
Right. Sounds like a good time. I mean, so on that trip there, like you get a guy that has a Subaru, Forester. He can do that trip, right? Or she.
Absolutely. We always encourage full-size trucks, vans, Subarus, anything like that can do that trip.
Yeah. That's cool that you have that diversity that you can reach out to, multiple people other than the hardcore overlanding crowd. But I'm sorry. We were gonna do that trip, and Scott and I were talking about it, and just couldn't get it to happen. But definitely one of the I'm gonna hit some trips this spring into the summer. And I love the idea of not having to be responsible for anything other than my vehicle and driving it. I mean, so many times, like you and I go out with people,
Absolutely.
and we're the ones that end up laying underneath it. Now, I mean, not that I wouldn't, but I
Right.
don't have to worry about that. I don't have to worry
Yeah.
about everybody else's rig. I can go out and enjoy. I don't have to do any planning. You don't have to pre-run anything.
I wouldn't know what to do.
No, yeah, I would enjoy myself. You know,
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
yeah, that's exactly it. And I think that's the the key to all this.
Mm.
So that's just it's really cool, and I'm looking forward to hitting some getting some content with you, Ron, this summer, and
I wanna hit one
some
up, too.
trails. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, we're gonna
Do a few day trip.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, that's definitely a must this year. Oh,
So kind of going along the future plans, and so where do you see overlanding going in the next,
10
10
years.
years or something of the sort, maybe even 5 to 10 years, as we see right now, there's
what's going to change?
Yeah, there's so much changing right now even too.
That's a great question. I'm not sure what's going to change, but I know one thing that's going to have to change in order for it to be sustainable is some better outdoor and off-road ethics. I find with my work with Tread Lightly that it's not cleaning up the trash that is the issue with trails getting shut down. It's a lot of overuse and abuse,
Yeah.
especially in the Northeast.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, you've done some educational stuff as well for Tread Lightly. But, I mean, what did you have going on at Mid Atlantic Overland Festival this year?
Mid Atlantic Overland Festival, we did a couple of tread lightly presentations to educate everybody about the tread principles and some off-road ethics, and get people interested in helping out in some of the future projects we have going on.
Yeah, and I think it was well received. And Ron's being modest. He was the keynote speaker for Mid Atlantic Overland Festival. But I think that's really cool that you're taking that educational path as well. That's my biggest fear is that they start closing down trails because
and we're seeing it right
traffic.
now out
Yeah.
west that they're trying to shut down some of the trails.
Yep. So it's I'm glad you're doing that, and of course anything we can do, please let us know. But
Yeah, that's our biggest fear. And when COVID hit, overlanding exploded in the Northeast,
right.
and we've already lost since COVID hit, and the big influx of everybody coming out. We've already lost a couple trails.
Yeah.
We're still working on getting the Dorset Caves Trail open.
Right.
I mean, that was shut down because of overuse and abuse.
Right.
Yeah.
It's currently gated, and we're working to get that open, and hopefully springtime it'll definitely be open.
Right. Yeah, I can imagine, and unfortunately, I think the problem is ignorance. Like, people just don't understand or take the time to understand the proper way to do this. Like I said, I think we talked about this, but the sound was cut off. For us, we were born and raised into this.
Right.
Ron, you were, Scott Ammerman
Just being
was.
outdoors in general,
Terry. Just being outdoors and understanding basic principles of being outdoors. It's like when you walk into somebody's house, there's certain things you don't do.
Right.
You don't throw your feet up on their coffee table. You lift the
throw your
toilet
trash
seat
out
up.
the window.
You lift the goddamn toilet seat up when you pee. You flush when you're done.
Right.
And I think a lot of people out when they're out overlanding, it's they don't understand about taking care of the trails. They don't understand about staying on the trails. So there's there's something laying across the road.
And
they
there's
can't clear.
campsites for a reason. It doesn't mean
That's
just,
absolutely it.
set up anywhere.
Right, or making sure that if you have a fire, that's out, that there's not burning ambers in there.
Right.
All that stuff is key. Using tree savers, and I mean the list goes on and on and on. But I mean the fact that you're bringing this, it made me happy to see you do this at Mid Atlantic Overland Festival, because there was a lot of people there that I talked to that were just exploring the option of doing it. I mean, they weren't actually into it yet, so they're getting this information right up front.
Yeah, the quicker we can get them in the beginning, the easier it is. If you can educate somebody from the beginning before they get bad habits,
right?
It's a lot easier to keep those good habits going, and maybe they can even push those good habits onto other people.
Yeah, no, I agree fully, really do.
Yeah, I do really enjoy my clients coming out with us because, a lot of them are very good in this, that, and the other. And people always say, well, you don't ever have any bad apples. And I'm like, somebody who's going to pay for a guide to get a good experience is usually not somebody who's going to be
Right.
a bad apple
Right.
per se. And if they do something, at camp, um, I'm trying to think of something foolish. Well, actually, it's happened before. Guys have been sitting there the first night at camp and tossed their aluminum can into the fire,
Right.
Right.
Sure.
thinking it's going to burn up, which it does. But every time you put aluminum in the fire and it's burning up, it's literally contaminating the ground even more.
Right.
And a lot of those things aren't thought about.
Right.
And once you start explaining it to people, they grab it, they catch on.
Yep.
Next time they're at a fire and one of their buddies throws a can in, they're going to, think of that and maybe tell them not to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely a ripple effect to it. Absolutely. All right, so let's cut to the chase here. What are your 2 trail rigs that you have?
Let's start with my 2012 JKU. We call it the Goat Dozer. People ask me why I call that, because I'm like, it goes over the top of everything. It really does.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a JKU on 37s with
Right.
electronic lockers, front and rear, 456 gears.
Yeah.
It's a good truck. I mean, it's a great guide truck.
Right.
I love that it has huge mirrors in it,
Right.
and the fact that when I'm guiding people, I can watch the mirrors and watch them.
Yep.
And if I miss the line in front of me, it's not a big deal. It's a slight adjustment with the 37s, and
Right.
up and over you go.
And that's something new this year, right? Now, last year you were on 35s on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think
We
the
were on 30.
37s made a huge difference? The difference between the 35s and 37s was that a game changer?
It was a game changer, and I really liked it. It very much upset my wife, but
Well, she writes the checks, right?
well, it depends on who you talk to. Yeah, I mean, when I went and I went to 37s because I had tweaked the 30 I had in the front.
Right.
The 30 axle had a slight bend in it, so I said, well, it's time for a 44. We
Right.
put a J8 44 in it.
I know all about that.
Then we decided we were going to put limited slip lockers in it, like my Land Rover has, but it wouldn't fit in the front. The J8 only took 2 different lockers, so we
Right.
went with an electronic locker.
Right.
But she was literally like, when it came back, it was on 37s, and that's the first thing she did. She walked right up and pointed at it, and she says, "That says 37s on those tires. I knew you were going to go bigger."
Well, I mean, that's listen.
The more you play with it, bigger it gets.
Bigger it gets. You're a man. I mean, what else are we supposed to do? So
Right,
I sat
right.
here a year and a half ago saying I'd never put 35s. There was no need for it. Now I'm talking about 37s.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Yeah.
But no, I think it was a smart thing to do as being the you're responsible for a lot of people, so you've got to have something that's just optimal for the trail. You know.
That is absolutely correct. People do ask me why is the Jeep so big? You don't really need that, and I don't really need that for overlanding.
Right.
But if I have somebody behind me, say in a Tundra or something else that's he's dead in the water or there's something going on where I need to yank him.
Yep.
The truck's got to be able to do it.
Yep.
The JKU was built that way.
Yep.
I have like a 12,005 winch in the front of it. Complete overkill, but it gets the job done when it has to get the job done.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen it, and it's. I think my favorite part is you want to talk about pinstriping? Man, it just has so many good trail stories on it.
Yeah, people ask me, they're like, "Oh, do you take that truck out?" I usually tell them it's a show and shine truck. And then they walk up and they look at it and they start looking at me, and I'm like, "Well, it was until it got in a fight with a pack of bobcats."
Yeah, it's. I love that. I get a kick out of when you see a real trail rig, and there's not a whole lot of shine left on them. But no, I hear you. I think that was a smart thing to do, to go to 37s, and definitely the lockers in it. I am not a huge locker fan, but I mean, there is nothing that's better for maximum traction than lockers.
It's true.
So
Yeah, I can attest.
And I the only reason I'm not a locker fan is because I'm cheap as hell. But
yeah, it was a little bit of a tough bullet to bite, but some of the great companies that partner with me, like Quadratech and Mainline Overland, they did a great job in getting it done and getting it taken care of for me.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, I mean it's done you great, and in the back you have a kitchen. You built a kitchen
yeah, I have
for
a
it?
full Overland build in the back.
Yep.
Everything I need to live out of that truck for days and days on end.
Yeah, it's pretty cool because that's so. I was not huge on the kitchen thing until I went up to MAOF and I started walking
Yeah.
around, and I think the JKU hooked me. I was like, oh, this is I'm definitely putting the kitchen in. I mean, Scott always had a nice setup in
Wow.
the back of his, but when you start looking at all the other stuff and how creative you can get with them to like suit your own needs,
Yeah,
hell yeah,
I'm looking
So,
at it.
yeah, yep, same,
Something.
yep, nope, absolutely. So what's the other
Yeah.
ride you got, Ron?
My other ride is a 2002 Land Rover Discovery 2 Kalahari Edition.
Okay,
The Kalahari Edition is a special edition every other year. So 2002, they did the Kalahari Edition. They only did 500 of them.
right,
The Land Rover I have is a yellow one. It is one of 150 in that color. So
Wow.
It's pretty rare.
right.
It's kind of iconic looking. It brings everybody, when they see it, back to the whole Camel Trophy style
Yep,
of it.
yep.
I really enjoy that truck. By far, very comfortable to drive. It is a overweighted pig and underpowered, but I absolutely love it and
Yep.
enjoy it much better than the Jeep.
Yeah. Yeah, they're definitely a whole. I mean, it's a different animal. I don't have a whole lot of experience, a little bit with Land Rovers,
Yeah.
but I dig them. I mean, there's some slick engineering with them too.
Yeah.
So, but that's cool. And do you are you still using that, or do you use that when you're taking people out?
I am, and I have very much so. You haven't seen it much this summer because in the beginning of April, or actually the end of March, I took it out west for 22 days on the road.
Oh wow.
And unfortunately, she took a couple hot suppers on the T case because it has a leak, and I
Right.
didn't get underneath it to fill it in enough time when we're going across country for 8-9 hours at a time each
Yeah.
day. So my lock to low is hit or miss right now. It's about 50% of the time. So
Right.
I haven't been taking it out too much with clients just for the simple fact that if I can't get it in the low and I need it, it's
Right,
just
right.
not good.
Is that what they call triple locked?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the T case will lock. You can lock the T case up on it. It's either high low or locked high low.
Right.
And it's 50% up front, 50% in the rear. And then I have limited zip lockers in there that are Ashcroft ATVs. It's like a Helix, like a True Track.
Right,
And,
right, right.
That works really, really
Yeah,
well.
that's the way to go.
They
I
work.
just
Yeah.
I shredded mine. I mean, 10,000 miles and the clutches are
Yeah.
they're laying in the bottom of the.
I love mine.
Yeah, I know. So I'm waiting to inherit that back.
I know.
But yeah, the Rovers are so cool, and there's so much history with them.
Yeah.
And they were, I mean, they don't. When you look at them, you don't really. I mean, I guess I'm sure they're out there, but you don't see Rovers on 37s, and everybody assumes they're not capable.
Right.
They're crazy capable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the guys at MAO Mid Atlantic Overland.
They're great.
They run them. I mean, they had one up at the St. Patty's ride, I think,
Yeah.
that I was looking at. That was
They have a pretty cool red build
yeah.
that they're
They're at
Yeah,
that,
down in Westchester.
yeah.
the classic that they brought up to St. Patty's Day is a beautiful truck.
Oh, it's,
If I was to own another Land Rover, that's what I would want.
yeah, it's gorgeous, really is. So, but yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I'm out of questions, Ron. Is there anything else that you want to add to our listeners, or Billy? Do you have anything?
I don't have anything right now.
Right.
Well-
I can, and I'm just going to throw this out there. From me to our listeners, and we always said we would be honest. I have a ton of respect for you, Ron, for what you do. I don't know that I've ever met anybody that does this like you do it. And I think that's the point that we wanted to have you on tonight, so
Yeah.
that we could get our listeners a better understanding of that. So anybody that's out there, I highly recommend that if you want to do some overlanding in the Northeast, and take it from a guy that's tried to do it at his own. I've done the research. I've gotten the maps out. I've
Yeah.
downloaded them from, you can download everything. It doesn't work. You have
I think
to have
that's one of the
somebody.
biggest things that's stopping me from doing these things is like it's a lot of work to
Oh, I spend hours. I mean, when I say hours, I'm talking into the 20s, 30s, 40s just to plan one trip. And that was with a quote-unquote guide service giving
Right.
me information. So the fact that I can pull up to Rendezvous and basically gas up my vehicle and then follow somebody and know that I'm safe, I'm in good hands,
Yeah.
is just key. To boot, the other part is, like I said, I when I was doing it, it was so hard to meet people. But to have that in already, absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess to wrap this up is, where can we find Ridgeback Guide Services? You know, do you guys have a website, email?
We have website. On the website is email subscription.
Yep.
It's Ridgeback Guide Service LLC.com. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. And we have some backlinks from other couple of websites that we're on with some of our partners.
Okay.
Yeah, we're there. You can Google us.
Yep, I did.
Right up.
Comes right up.
I
So
think that's the easiest
the
way.
last thing that I'm going to leave it with, and this is my favorite part about the company. Where did the name come from?
I'm a Rhodesian Ridgeback owner. They are absolutely great dogs. Beautiful, sleek dogs that are lion hunters, weigh about 100 pounds, about 32 inches at the shoulder.
Yep.
Currently, our mascot is Tiberius. He's 9 years old. He's a great dog. I don't think I'd own another breed.
No,
here on out.
Yeah, I agree. I had the luxury of meeting Tiberius this summer, and he was an awesome dog. He was like the pack leader. And I was saying, last week when we had no audio, the
Right.
coolest thing for me at Mid-Atlantic was like
all
all the
the-
dog people,
Yeah.
but none of us, like, no one leashed their dogs, and everybody's dog was really cool, know.
Right.
But Tiberius was like, he was like his dad. He was
The leader.
he was offering the guide services
Yeah.
up there, so
That's
guide
cool.
service, but absolutely. Ron, thanks so much for having, for coming on the show, and we look forward to doing some more stuff with you this upcoming year,
Yeah.
and we'll see you out in the trail.
Yes, thank you very much, guys, for having me on. I really appreciate it. Anybody's looking for any guide service, get a hold of me.
Absolutely, we 100% endorse that. Like, I don't think
Absolutely.
you're not going to get anybody
Yeah.
else that's better at it.
And we're going to put all your contact information in the show notes so everybody
Right.
out there can get.
Well, we're
involved.
not. Terry is.
Terry will.
Right.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, guys.
Absolutely. Have a good night, Ron. Thanks.
You too.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, I think, man, you can't beat something like that.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, and
I mean, even like when we've started to look at trying to do there's a couple trails that span from up into New York all the way down to like West Virginia, and we've even talked about doing those.
Yeah.
And that's like a planned out route of
Yeah.
like where to stop and
Yeah.
everything. And we just still haven't gotten around to it.
No.
But having a service that tells you, I'm assuming basically what you need to bring, the whole.
Oh, he does.
Right,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
And I know through Neil
Yeah.
and Jason
So he gives you tips,
Right.
tricks, what you need to pack, everything.
how
that
much
you should-
fuel you need.
Exactly.
It's right down to nuts and bolts, and I mean that's huge. And
Right.
like for guys like us who are always doing that for other people, not even near the same level that Ron's
No.
doing it.
I mean, we lead people around a park.
Yeah, we're not guides.
We're not guides.
We're far from it.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, to have that service, and like I said, I'm looking forward to taking some of our Patreon money this summer and going and getting some content and educating
Absolutely.
people a little more on what he does, because I personally think that this is where we need to head with overlanding.
Right.
People going out and just mauling the
Yeah.
countryside.
Does not work.
No, you really need.
And that's a lot of the issues that they're facing out west, is that people are just going out and they're not staying to the trails.
No, I know.
And I know that I've seen videos and I've seen, topographical maps of the trails that are up north and how long they are. You can go 2-3 days without even setting foot on
Right.
a paved road.
Right.
So,
Now, I think, it's just the way to go, and I think it's definitely the way we need to head. So,
absolutely.
hey, speaking of where can we be found?
So I want everybody to head over to Google, and you can Google us. But we have a Facebook page, Instagram, YouTube. Right now, Terry is getting highlighted on our YouTube channel, so make sure you head over there, like and subscribe. And if you would like to support the podcast and help us get to some of these events out, like the main Mid-Atlantic
Overland Festival. Right.
Or also some of the other events and get more content for you guys. Head over to our Patreon page.
Yeah.
You can support us in any monetary donations.
Yeah.
Also, Dr. Don puts up all of his notes up there.
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, make sure you like and subscribe, follow, do the whole 9.
Pay our shit. And by the way, Terry, you're not getting the keys back. Fuck that. This is my ride now.
Absolutely.
I got this shit figured out.
Yep. Just got to remember to hit the mute button or the unmute button.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I think I was moving around pages on my
Yeah.
computer, which was like rule number 1. Terry's like, close everything out. And I'm
Close
like,
everything.
fuck, Terry don't know shit. I'm gonna do all kinds of stuff.
Hell
You
yeah.
know, fucking. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, Terry was right. Whatever. Last time you're
No,
hearing
he's
it,
not.
Terry.
Don't tell that. Don't tell him that. Maybe he's watching. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Anyway, if you are Terry, we miss you, and to everybody else out there, we can't wait to see you all again. And thanks for joining in tonight. Have a good night.
Big Jeep wave to you. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us tonight and putting up with our shit. So, big Jeep wave to everybody out there from Dr. Don, Break It Billy, Jeep and Terry out at SEMA, and everybody else. Have a good night.